Good evening. My name is Coca Treviño, founder of the Proyecto. Together with the MIS Barrientos Mexican American Cultural Center, we're happy to have the one and only, often the best artist, Michael Anthony García, someone that I absolutely adore and admire a ton. If you're not familiar with his work, he has his practice around photography and video, sculpture, installation, and mainly performance. Much of his work explores his layers of identity, how they shape him and affect his perception of and by the world in a political expression of Latinx Futurism founded with emotion and utopian projection. He's a founder member of Los Outsiders Collective and has curated large-scale exhibitions of international artists in and out of the US. He participated in the 2011 Texas Biennial and has won awards for both his curatorial work and 3D work. He hosts an international conversation podcast named El Puente and is publisher of it's POCa POCa Madre Magazine, kinda. I was going on the English pathway. It's just Spanglish, así es que ya saben que todo. Anyway, Garcia has premiered work for the Utah Museum of Contemporary Art, Experimental Action Performance Art Biennale in Houston, Contemporary Austin, SoundSpace at the Blanton Museum of Art, Mexic-Arte Museum, the Museo de la Ciudad de México, and ThreeWalls in Chicago. This is just a tiny part of all the things that Michael Anthony García does. Like I'm in constant awe of what he can accomplish and the community that he brings. So I'm very excited to talk to you and learn more about your process and what you do for the community, and also as someone in the educational field. Well, without further ado, hi Michael, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hola, no, gracias, I think. and the feeling is mutual. I just want you to know, I really admire all that you do. You're a badass, so.
You're very nice. Muchas gracias.
I was super honored to get to speak with you
siempre,
today.
no, siempre. La verdad, para los que no están familiarizados con el proyecto, con los Spanglish Series, esto lo empezamos en vivo. Empezamos unas series y a gente que adoro de aquí de Austin, los estaba tratando de guardar para más tarde, pensando de que la pandemia va a durar un mes.
Un ratito, sí.
Una semana. Entonces voy a hablar con la gente de fuera, pues aprovechando eso, y ya que todo está a la normalidad, nos juntamos con la gente de acá de Austin, que en realidad tengo una relación a veces más cercana, pero así, grew further and further, I was like, oh, I guess I will need to adopt that way of thinking. Así es que sí, por eso me tardé un poquito más, porque en realidad me hubiera encantado estar al lado de ti y tal vez haciendo obra o algo, pero it is what it is, y luego estoy segura que tenemos muchas oportunidades más adelante de platicar y de ver obra juntos. Pero anyway, ¿me puedes platicar un poquito más de ti, de cómo empieza el arte en tu vida?
Ok, bueno, para empezar, soy originalmente del Paso. Ahí nací, crecí y pues casi toda la vida. Sí, bueno, ahora vivo más tiempo aquí en Austin que allá. Pero siempre hacía cosas con las manos, siempre creaba cosas, pero nunca pensé o me llamaba artista. Para mí los artistas eran los de mis clases que dibujaban muy bonito y hacían cosas así, y yo, wow. Pues yo hago mis pendejadas por ahí. me gustan, pero de niño, digo. Y pues ya, en la universidad, mi primer año iba a terminar. Dije, no es para mí.
¿Y qué estabas estudiando?
Lenguaje, inglés.
Okay.
Iba a ser escritor. Pero dije, no, esto no es para mí. Pensaba seguir una carrera de música, de hecho. Y tomé una clase de arte con una amiga para terminar mi carrera ahí, ese primer año. Y era de arte y me encantó. Y me di cuenta, no, no puede ser, siempre has sido artista. Todas esas
Ya,
cosas, esta historia como casi invisible, para mí
ajá,
era arte. Entonces, sí, ahí empezó y no he dejado.
increíble. Qué bueno. Sí, y eso me ha pasado con varios amigos y artistas que me decían, siempre hacía cosas con mis manos, siempre era muy productivo y creativo, pero pues nunca le di importancia. Like that's so funny that that's also your case.
Yeah.
Y en música, platícame más. ¿Tocas algún instrumento o era más teórico o cómo?
Sí, aún escribo música, compongo
Wow,
música. Ujú. Sí, y estoy usando más música, la voz más que nada en mis performances. Um,
cool.
sí, pero sí, he sido parte de varios grupos, um, cantando, tocando piano, guitarra un poco, así,
Wow, I had
acordeón, una
no.
cosa. Ajá,
Oh, wow, that's a hard one.
poquitito, no, así, no, no bien, no bien.
No, qué interesante. Y luego, ¿cuál es tu primer contacto ya que te das cuenta de que este es un like a path that you can actually take? Like, what is your first approach? Is that like painting or what is it?
Like when I first started, or
Ajá.
como.
Sí, pues ya que viste con la clase con tu amiga, ¿cuál
Sí,
fue el primer contacto profesional que tuviste con arte?
ajá. Pues escultura, instalación, más que nada.
Oh,
Sí,
wow.
sí, eso me llamó la atención desde el principio, así y de crear cosas con objetos que ya existen y darle
Got
como
it.
otra vida, otro contexto, contar la historia del objeto. Ujú. Sí, desde el principio. Pues sí, sí, me tomé clases de dibujo y todo eso, pero no, no me llamó la atención. Ujú.
Ya, qué interesante,
Sí.
porque sí, por lo regular, esos son like how most people start. I guess it's with painting, drawing, and
Yeah,
stuff like, yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's really, really cool. So you were always attracted to what you end up doing, really, like,
Yeah, no, it was definitely like a passion from the beginning. Like all the things that I was making in my childhood growing up, they were objects. In fact, like I vividly remember, I was probably like 4 years old, and I remember seeing something on a movie or something like cuckoo clock, and I was
okay.
like, I want a cuckoo clock, so I made one. But
Wow.
I vividly, I was a little box. I don't even remember what it was from. Sí, le pinté la cara y todo, and then I made a little door, and then a little wind-up toy of, ¿cómo se llama el pajarito de Snoopy?
Well,
The
Woodstock,
peanut.
¿no?
Woodstock, sí, sí, sí. Y lo puse ahí adentro, como como el cuco.
Increíble. Oye, ¿tus papás felices de que tenías tanto, like, creativity?
Oh, sí, 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 sí. Sí, siempre cuando iban a juntas con los maestros, desde chiquito hasta terminar mi carrera ahí, siempre decían, él es un niño muy creativo.
Oh.
Pero era como, ¿y? ¿Qué voy a hacer con eso?
At least he doesn't give us trouble.
Exactly, exactly.
Qué bien. Y a ver, y ya que descubres esta parte del arte profesionalmente, más o menos de un joven adulto, ¿qué temas eran los que te llamaban la atención? ¿Los mismos de ahora o era algo distinto?
No, no, no tenía tanto concepto antes. Era más como experimentar con los materiales y forma y todo eso. Era como lo primero. Ahora es más lo segundo de lo que yo hago. Ahora incluyo más conceptos y uso mi arte como un modo de comunicarme de cosas que tal vez no puedo hacer con palabras,
Ujú,
cosas políticas y eso, cosas así que son más difíciles como, como conceptos para brochar con la gente, así de,
ujú.
ajá, ajá, sí.
Ok, y
Yeah.
me puedes platicar como de algún proyecto que tuviste cuando estabas empezando que te acuerdes y que te cause como like I was on the right path, o que estaba, like, oh, what a weirdo I am. Like algún proyecto inicial. Me da mucha curiosidad porque por lo que estábamos platicando antes de que el objeto y que instalaciones sean tu primer approach, it's kind of different. So I'm very curious to know about your first few projects.
Yeah, I started a lot. I've always worked with clothing. That's something that's kind of been a staple in my career thus far. And I started out working with con medias y mallas. So just the elasticity of the material, the distortion, the way gravity treats them. And so I made these pieces that were these suspended little sculptures. So when I grew up, I had asthma. Okay. And so I would have to use medicine, and they would come in these little glass vials con unos piquitos a los lados. Entonces tenías que quebrar para. Oh, and so so I had this sculpture, and I would just stuck them inside, and the points were coming out, and like this weird kind of crazy creature kind of thing.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah, and I remember people just being like, "Whoa, what is that?" and like really being interested. That's when I started seeing people interested in what I was doing, and I was like, "Oh, okay, so maybe I have some penchant for for creating objects." Yeah.
Yeah, y ya entiendo un poquito más eso de tu interés en la forma, and yeah, because you were doing crazy formas.
Yes.
Awesome. And all of that was in El Paso?
No. I went to school in Sherman, Texas, una escuela chiquitita called Austin College. Yeah. So it's a very small liberal arts school, about 1,200 students. So yeah, there are only like 4 faculty members in the art department. So you would have class, and sometimes it was you and 3 other people. So you got like individual attention, and it was amazing. Yeah.
Well, that sounds awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So very integral, like very all together, and very focused on the alumni. That's really cool. Yeah. And I'm assuming that allows you to explore a lot.
Definitely. Yes. And it's those deep relationships that you develop with those professors. So the one that I took that first art class with, he was also the ceramics and sculpture professor. And so I ended up taking lots of work. He was very, very, to this day, very influential in my work. Mark Monroe, amazing artist in his own right. And he was just very much my mentor, and really pushed me even like into like performance. Like there was really not a performance program at the school, but he encouraged me to kind of experiment and dip my toe in that. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, good place to be studying art there. Okay, and then after that, like, do you move to Austin, or do you go back to El Paso? What's now that you found this thing that you love and that you feel it's meant to be? Where do you go from there?
Bueno, terminando mi carrera ahí, pues mi familia ya se había mudado a Houston, así que no tenía por qué ir tan lejos y estar solo. Así que yo me quedé en Dallas, que es la ciudad grande más cercana a Sherman. Y ahí quería empezar como, pues un poco lejos de la familia para ver si podía hacer algo solo, así. Y sí, me quedé ahí como unos 3 años. No era mi ideal como ciudad, pero sí, conocí mucha gente ahí muy buena, pero vine a Austin a visitar a una amiga que vivía aquí, y me enamoré de la ciudad y de la gente y del ritmo de la ciudad más que nada. Que ahora ya no es lo mismo, pero...
No. I feel ya. Y todo esto estás haciendo arte en el Inter, y cómo empiezas a profesionalizarte? Like how are you getting gigs for art? Like are you volunteering places? Like how are you, because you discovered this after college, like how do you start being like interwoven in this in the arts community?
That's a really good question. I just kept making work and just trying to show it to people. I would go especially like when I was in Dallas trying to find out where all the art spots were and go out and meet people. And then same thing when I came to Austin, I was craving that community. Yeah, that conversation that comes with the community too. And yeah, I just ended up finding here. I mean, my first, I think, yeah, because my first show was a Mexic-Arte for the YLA. Yeah, YLA 11. So how long ago that was.
Amazing. And then you got to curate, and like, I'm gonna curate the next one, so I'm very excited.
I heard that. I'm so excited. Yes, I cannot wait to do that. I cannot wait.
I'll take all the tips and all that's like a part of it. Yeah, I think I have to make an appointment with you for that one. But what an amazing place to do that, because it's a very interesting and welcoming, but also a very important platform. Mexic-Arte YLA. Hay tanta gente, tantos artistas nuevos que he conocido desde ahí, y es algo súper respetado, pero al mismo tiempo sí se toman muchos riesgos. Like, it's not all the people, like all the usuals or the trendy people, like necessarily. Entonces, qué increíble que hayas podido ser parte de eso tan temprano en tu carrera.
Oh, sí. Y mi trayectoria profesional empieza ahí. En YLA también conocí a Jaime y Héctor, que son parte de los Outsiders. De ahí empezó eso también. Así que todo frotó de ahí, todo. Yeah. And so then, like you said, I got to curate it 7 years later. That was like my first big curatorial gig, and I was like, I fell in love with the process, and like was able to, it's an amazing space. They do great things for people. Yeah.
I know, I love them. Shout out to everyone at Mexic-Arte. Like, you're doing good work, and we're very appreciative of y'all. Anyway, so you go there and you start this career and you meet Los Outsiders. Can you tell me more about that gig, or not that gig, that collective?
Yeah. So right now we're comprised of 4 individuals. So it's Jaime Salvador Castillo, Hector Hernandez, and Roberto Jackson Harrington, and we're a curatorial collective, which it's a little bit of deviation from a lot of, because most collectives, they make work together or they collaborate on pieces. But early on, we just kind of, it just sort of happened organically. We had this great opportunity that Hector got us in Nuevo Laredo to curate a large show. I think the space was like 20,000 square feet, like huge. It was the Antigua Aduana in Nuevo Laredo. And originally we were just going to show work of our own, but then we were like, there's no way we could ever fill 20,000 square feet.
That's how people over.
Yeah, I was like, okay, it's gonna be one giant projection. Like, yeah. No, but so then we had this idea, well, what if we create a show? And we got all these different Austin-based artists to do ginormous work. And it was like this really amazing success. The city treated us so well, and it was like, and we got the bug, and we're like, okay, so we traveled that show to Houston, and then we did 2 shows at the MAC, which was also a very, very important space for us as Los Outsiders. Like, they've supported us in our curatorial endeavors. And yeah, so we've just been doing that ever since. And we have this mission of just pushing forward, underrepresented artists. And yeah, it's an enjoyable process, and it feels fulfilling too. So.
And very collaborative. Like, y'all have like different, do you have like a dynamic of each, like you do this and you do that, or everyone does all the things?
No, it's like whoever gets to it first. Yeah.
Very democratic.
Yeah. And it's weird because like we don't have like a set process. In fact, we have a show that opens next week at Great Duck Gallery. Yeah, we're creating a show. Yeah. And for that one, we decided to do an exquisite corpse kind of process in order to pick the artist. And so one of us would pick an artist and then a piece of their work, and then this next person would find a piece of work from that same artist and connect that to the artist that they pick. And so we just like creamos esta cadena de artistas, y de ahí lo bajamos y terminamos con 5 artistas increíbles que estamos exponiendo en Great Duck. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Can't wait. ¿Y cómo va a estar? ¿Es appointment only or virtual, or how does that work?
Same. No, it's by appointment only.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a maximum of 5 people that can go on an appointment. But,
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, you're putting it on my calendar right now. Oh yeah, y luego, like, and your work at the same time, it's developing on its own, right?
Yes. Yeah, I actually started a grad school program this summer, and in just that time, I feel like my work has grown so much, and not just physically, but I think conceptually, I'm looking at it a lot differently. Even like I'm looking at my old work now, I'm able to think about it in different ways just because of the conversations I'm having with the faculty there and visiting artists. And it's like, it's what I've been needing, really. Like, yeah. So, yeah, I'm loving it.
Nice. No, I'm glad to hear. I've been lucky enough to be present for a few of your performances, and also I've seen a lot on video, and it's very versatile. Like I mean, I guess the constant is you being in them, but if that person would be someone random, like maybe you can think that it's different people doing the work. It's cohesive in a way of thinking, but at the same time, like the actions are very versatile. Can you talk about that? Like, ¿cómo es tu proceso para en específico de performance? I think sí, tus performances son tan como personales y relevantes y y I don't know, like I feel like it's very direct and on point y muy brave, you know. I don't know. Yeah, I'm rambling, but yeah, can you tell us about specifically the performances? What's your process on that?
Yeah, I don't have a specific process per se. And I've kind of been joking about this recently, especially when I was going into grad school. Like, I feel like, I've had these amazing opportunities to create work, especially performance. Like, I never intended to go into it. It just sort of happened, and I've just kind of gone with the wave. But like all the projects that I get, a lot of times they're offered to me, and it seems to be like in a response to like a prompt. Which has been really cool. So I joke that it's like I'm on a reality show, and that's like the challenge, So I don't want to get eliminated or whatever. But it's been really interesting working in that way, because I do have to approach it from whatever angle that subject is that I'm tackling. So I feel like I come up with a lot of times like a visual. There's like one visual component, and then it kind of it grows from there. So if it's just like this one image that I have in my head of, so I'm thinking like one that I did for the Biennale in Houston, experimental action. That one, I had this image of somebody interacting with people and through gloves. And so I just knew that's where it ends. From there, it just kind of grew and grew until I realized eventually that piece was going to be about a practice, like you would like yoga or Pilates or meditation. Like it's something that you have to do over and over to improve. And for me, that one was this idea of trying to develop a sense of forgiveness for microaggressions that I experience in the world. A lot of times from white individuals. And so I had people in the audience act as proxies for the people who have committed these things against me. And so it was this idea of like these white gloves and trying to find that forgiveness and like caressing each other's faces and things like that. And then from there, it grew into this this character that was almost like a religious, so it was like a ceremony in a way. And so it just kind of like evolves from that one idea of the glove. So yeah.
Wow, it's super interesting. Yeah. And how does it feel? Like, is it very cathartic to be you? Like being part of the art? Like, I'm trying to see how I feel the question.
No. Yeah, because I've thought about, I have collaborated with people before. So I have one friend who actually she's a singer, and we've collaborated in performances before. But as far as like stepping myself out of it, I'm really into that visceral connection I have with the viewer, which you don't always get, like, you know, from painting or sculpture or whatever. That, like, there's that energy interchange where they're watching you and they're giving you something from that, and then you're giving it back. And so it's exactly, you hit it on the head. There's like this, it's a flow, yeah. And it's a powerful, positive flow, I feel like. And I feel like that feeds into the work that I do, trying to uplift from negative situations. So for that one, you know, I could easily have done a performance where I was, you know, just pointing out all the negativity that people have said to me, but then turning it into something positive in an act of forgiveness, or at least seeking forgiveness. Like, I was like, that's me. That's who I've always been. From very little, like, I always try to be a positive person.
Mm-hmm.
And so my performance allows me to do that. It manifests these ideas, I feel like.
Got it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And is that different? I'm guessing yes. Like, if for video, like right now that we're doing all these things in video, we're doing this chat on Zoom, like, is your practice like very affected by not being present?
Yes and no. I feel like I'm still exploring a lot of the similar ideas. Working in video, it allows me to do some things that I can't do in person, like the whole editing process. That's been amazing to me, because a lot of my performance, it's based on, I create like a framework of what's going to happen, but I don't plan out every single step because I want to be in that moment. So you have these surprising things happen, so that when I'm reacting to it, it's a sincere reaction to what's happening as opposed to a planned one. So and through the editing process in video, I get to develop or twist that narrative however I want to. So I like it. It's different. Yeah, there's not that same energy interchange, but.
See, yeah, I can imagine. And if you don't mind, like, touching back about like this microaggressions, this issues. I'm guessing a lot has to do with being Latino, being from El Paso, like being in Texas. Like, is that? I'm guessing that's something that fuels your work a lot, but it's very like personal and at the same time kind of reactive. Like, can you do you have like an example of how, like, how I get that the work allows you to forgive and process, but how does that feel inside of an artist? Like, how the artist Michael Anthony García, like, gets all these things, process them, and then lets them out on art?
Yeah, for me, it's very much like the way I approach music. Even sometimes, even if there's no one around to hear the music when I'm playing or singing, there, again, it comes back to like that visceral kind of like guttural expression and just getting things out. You know, it's almost like crying. You know, like you can feel horrible and then you cry and it changes your perspective. Like, you know, it alters the chemicals in your head, and you know, you're able to do that. So for me, that's where a lot of that comes from. Yeah. What was the other part of the question? I'm sorry, you were saying.
No. It's just how do you make all these emotions into art? Because like I guess I consider myself to be creative in many ways. Like, I do not produce art at all. So if something is bad at me, like if I get a bad experience, I probably like get super pissed, like cry in anger, and then like I guess get over it or go to the person and tell them like, you blah blah blah. Like, but I do not have a way personally on how to make. I mean, I guess like do constructive chats or talks or whatever with that person. But I do not know how to produce something beautiful or something that will help me and help others. You know, like, so I'm very curious on how do you grab onto something like that and produce something of value and something creative with it? Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. I don't know. I think it's kind of like asking, you know, how do you say this, or why do you say that? Because for me, art is just like another language that I have. You know, siendo alguien bilingüe, hay veces que puedo expresarme mejor en español, o hay alguna palabra que no tiene el mismo sentido si lo traduces a inglés. Es algo así como, hay cosas que solo puedo expresar creando un objeto o algún movimiento del cuerpo en un performance, algo así. And so it's like, I don't know how to explain it, I guess. It's just like a natural process, I guess, at this point.
Sí,
Yeah.
entonces,
Maybe there was a point where I had to think about it, but yeah.
Sí, no, tu manera de procesar eso se procesa en el arte. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I'm just like, me da envidia que yo no puedo hacer nada. Anyway, platícanos más de tu carrera. Entonces, desde que vas empezando profesionalmente, tocas con curaduría, un poco con performance, ya tienes objeto. ¿Cómo vas combinando todas estas disciplinas?
Bueno, todos se juntan, yo creo. Estaba hablando el otro día con alguien que la curaduría es como crear una instalación con objetos que ya existen, pero en lugar de ser como un martillo y esto, es la obra de alguien más. Y estás creando conversaciones entre los trabajos. Eso tú también haces con la curaduría. Entonces, no digas que no haces. You're an installation artist, but just use other people's work.
Thank you. I
was like, wait a minute. I'm not going to let her get away with that. Una regañada en cámara.
Well deserved, I guess. No, pues es que yo no lo veo. I mean, I get what you say. Yes, it is a creative thing. And, but at the same time, like, I don't feel I create like, I don't know. It's different. Like, I feel like I'm almost like a Cupid. Like, you know, like I match. I'm a matchmaker. That's the way I feel it. Like I get excited, like, oh, these two pieces or these two people should meet each other, and they would be like magic. Like, yeah, that's. But I get what you're saying. Like, yeah,
es un arte también. But yeah, like, so I feel like a lot of them feed into each other. So like the photography work feeds into my video work, which in my performance also feeds into the video. My installation background feeds into the curatorial. Like that, it's incestuous. Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, and pero al mismo tiempo tú sí haces muchas colaboraciones. Aparte con los Outsiders, tienes tu podcast y como estabas diciendo, de que muchos de tus proyectos son prompt por otras, me imagino que instituciones y organizaciones. ¿Me puedes platicar un poquito más de cómo trabajas en colaboración?
Sí, yo creo que soy alguien que puede escuchar muy bien y intento ser una persona paciente. Así que esas dos cosas se requieren primero para poder colaborar. Porque si tú vienes con tus ideas y no vas a escuchar a los demás, pues ya se terminó eso. Ya no es colaboración. But yeah, I just feel like I've always been good at like kind of riffing off of other people's ideas. So, you know, where someone will say, I want to do this, and it's like, ooh, I like that. And what if we took that and we did this? I feel like I'm generally good at that. Like with Los Outsiders, it's a little bit different just because like we've been doing it, ya tenemos 13 años.
Wow.
trabajando juntos así. So like for us, and then like, you know, we're all busy with our own careers as well. So when we come together, it's in shorter bursts. And I feel like, I don't know, it's almost like we have a second language that we use to get that across. But when I'm working with like somebody new, that's where it is. It's kind of that learning process. Like, okay, I need to get to know you, and then know how you think, how you work, your work ethic, and then from there, I'm pretty adaptable. I think that's my thing, is I'm fairly adaptable.
Yeah, that's exactly the word that I was thinking. Como es eso, tener esa flexibilidad de poder trabajar para diferentes proyectos y con diferente gente. Pero creo que el elemento de comunidad es muy significativo en tu trabajo, de que no solo estás haciendo trabajo muy personal, pero también estás haciendo trabajo algo político, social, y siempre, yeah, if you ask around, like about work, about important work, about important social work in Austin, like la gente va a dar contigo sí o sí. Y creo que es algo como, es eso, no es trabajo solamente personal, es social engagement, y es pensar en toda una comunidad y no nada más en que se vea que tu proyecto sea de que bello o que sea comercial o vendible. Like, I feel like you're thinking about so many other layers y representando a comunidades que no están representadas todo el tiempo. Is that right?
Sí, no, exacto. And I think a lot of that also is fed by, so this is my 20th year in education. Like I started at my school I'm teaching at in 2001. Wow. So this is my 20th year. So crazy. And I think just from that, like working literally with community and, you know, engaging so many different voices. And, you know, I work at a school that for the most of the time that I've been there was very much, you know, Latinx and African American communities, the Black communities that was like our school, you know. Things have changed with gentrification, but the main thing was like getting to know like the issues of those communities and seeing the commonalities and being like, hey, we all would be doing so much better if we work together to solve our problems, instead of like, you know, everybody else wants us to be against each other, because then that leaves them free to do whatever they want. Yep. And so just being a part of that, being in my head, it almost became like a mantra. And yeah, so I think that's why it's kind of been a big part of my work as well. And just in working in a collective, like that's community too. And I love doing projects where I get to engage communities as well, and let them share their stories and that kind of thing. It's just, yeah, it's second nature to me now, I think.
Yeah. Es también parte del proceso y es un recordatorio constante en tu trabajo, like, y cómo lo adaptas a tu arte. Yeah, that's very interesting and nice and good to have. Porque sí, mucha gente que estamos de que en nuestras oficinas, así, igual y no tenemos el recordatorio constante de que todas esas cosas están pasando y todo lo que hacemos tiene repercusiones. And I get that. Y nos puedes platicar tantito más de eso, tu trabajo en educación, like how, aside from the community part, like do you feed from that, or it's more like, I'm done with the education now, let's see. ¿Cómo divides esos dos like, mentalidades?
He vivido de los dos lados, porque hay veces que sí siento como resentimiento de un trabajo que pues requiere mucho de mí, energía, tiempo, y me quita del arte a veces. Pero también me da algo. Trabajo con niños chiquitos, así que es como que y su juventud también me da energía, la esperanza de sus vidas, así es como que también eso me da algo, una energía también. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's helped me stay grounded in a way, and just kind of keeping like what's real too. So I've had that kind of always like, this is the real world, because it's very easy to like get into our art world and be like, you know, and be more privileged than we are already.
Mm-hmm.
And so having that as a reminder too is like, okay, I can live in this lofty world of just creating things and then but like the real stories are there too. But I think also it's, I don't know, it's just very, I've also, especially recently, being in grad school, like I've had lots of conversations about that. And one of my professors actually helped me realize, like, your work in education is also part of your pedigree as an activist. Like what you're doing is activism. You're empowering people, and I never thought about it that way. And so I do have a deeper appreciation. I mean, I've always loved it, and I love kids. I mean, I wouldn't have done this for as long as I have if I didn't love kids and working with kids. But yeah, I feel like now there's more of an appreciation, and I feel like I have more of a purpose now that I have that idea in mind of like, okay, you can make a difference in this kid's life to where that's activism. So yeah, it fits in with all the other stuff that I feel like I do.
Yeah, because it's also, es el impacto que da un buen profesor, una buena clase, like even a phrase, like if I go back to like middle school and elementary, like things that some teacher said, or people like saved me from being a little brat or whatever. Yeah, those you do get those like very special moments, and a lot of those times, like you don't want to hear from your parents, like tampoco de los maestros, pero al mismo tiempo si tienes una buena conexión, si hay cosas que se te quedan más en la cabeza y que son long lasting. So I'm on board with that. Yeah, you're doing activism. You're helping people. Y aparte eso, tener maestros que son artistas, me imagino que debe ser un concepto súper diferente por la manera en que aprendes, like how the professors in the creative field think differently. Es no es nada más repetir y like.
Exacto. Sí. Antes sí, más que nada, empecé dando clases de kinder y pre-kinder bilingüe. Ahí empezó mi carrera. Y en esos tiempos, pues también había más como espacio para ser creativo y hacer cosas así de fuera de la caja. Y sí, creo que eso fue mucho más divertido. Con el tiempo se ha convertido más controlado de lo que hacemos, pero aún uno puede crear algo creativo entre lo que está haciendo. Por ejemplo, ahorita que estamos dando clases a la distancia, virtuales, estoy creando videos para la escuela y es cosas así es como es un modo de conectar a la comunidad y de enseñar también, así. Yeah, a little bit of everything. You get to be creative here and there.
I love it. Yeah. And that way you don't get bored.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Or the kids.
Oh yeah. Like, tell me also, I'm very, very curious because when I moved in, I think you were one of the first people that I knew in the arts world. And Austin arts world is very peculiar, I must say. Like, para ser honesta, yo vine directo de Monterrey y yo fui a la escuela en artes y todo, entonces yo tenía mi comunidad like súper fixed, and yo estaba muy familiarizada, entonces probablemente si hubiera ido a cualquier otra parte hubiera opinado lo mismo, pero I still think like Austin, like, y a lo mejor tiene que ver con que soy mexicana y like just how do you get in this community? Like, can you tell me about your experience on being a Latino, like from, I mean, it's still Texas, but Texas is huge. So from outside of Austin, like cómo te metes en este mundo? O a lo mejor me puedes decir, like, you're tripping, like, this is the easiest thing ever.
No. Bueno, de ahí vino el nombre Los Outsiders. Ya, porque cuando empezamos, casi todo que se exponía aquí tenía conexión con UT, con la universidad. Así que, pues, intentábamos hacer como meternos así, era más difícil. No muy difícil, pero más difícil. Y, pues, de ahí, pues, dijimos, bueno, si no hay oportunidad para nosotros, pues vamos a crear. Y por eso empezamos con la curaduría y el nombre de Los Outsiders, porque estamos fuera de eso. Pero ya con el tiempo hemos tenido más influencia y la gente, bueno, mucha de la gente que no nos dejaba meternos ya no está aquí. Eso es también lo que viene con UT, porque viven aquí un rato y luego se van. But then there's also some people here who have been very, very open. So it just takes some time to find the right people. I think that's too. Yeah. It's not always easy to find those connections, but when you do, it's like, it's gold. Like I'm thinking in particular, like Jill and Mark from Grey Duck Gallery, like they have been open to us from day one and like support us and like they've, you know, so like there's beautiful little moments and connections out there. Pero sí, entiendo.
Sí. No, when I first got here, I was like, I have this, and it took a while. Like it did, but at the same time, like I came here and then I was like ready to work in an arts field because that's all that I've done before, and I knew I was prepared and I was good. But then like it was like, oh no, it's not that easy. And I guess as in every city in the world, like arts jobs are like only a few. Like so what did you expect, lady?
And then and Austin, even especially because it's a very small art community here. I mean, we don't have a lot of spaces. We don't have a lot of institutions. And so, and the people fight for that. And of course, you know, there are some people that get them because of their privilege and you know, they tend to not let go of those spots. So it's hard to find.
Very understandable. But yeah, like I understood that I had to invest in this community if I wanted to be part of it. And then I started to do more research and discovered like a bunch of wonderful people, and now I'm lucky to be a part of the community. But I do remember like this is tight and it's
tough. Yeah. I'm thinking like back then. I mean, another person or another group that kind of gave us a really good lift up was Collab. I think that from the start they've been very, very supportive, and I mean right now they're my umbrella organization when I apply for core funding. Like they're very supportive in that too. But there's some other spaces and other organizations that just there's the wall, and you're not going to get through. But it's like, you know what, I'm going to focus on the people that are helping me, and so and I'm glad, I'm so happy that they came to their senses and found a spot for you in our community. Yes. I mean, you were still doing your thing. That's the thing I loved about it. Like you weren't just sitting back and waiting.
No, when I realized that was the case and that a full-time job in the arts wasn't gonna be an option, at least at the beginning, I was like, okay, fine, I'll survive in a different way and do my thing. And I think like the first like bigger-ish thing that I started to do was like I had done some connections with bars here in Austin, so I started doing happenings in bars. Like, and I would bring artists from Monterrey or from here, and just like, let's do something weird. And but I had to come up with it because otherwise, like, I had zero resume, and it looked very weird on my resume to have like all these things and Mexico, and in here was just like flat, and I was like, no, I need to.
No.
Hey.
That's the Mexican way, right? You just keep going and
Right.
going until you get it.
Yeah, yeah, resilience.
No se vence.
No, para nada. Sí, pues tiene que salir de una manera o de otra. Like, si eso es lo que me gusta, pues se chingó. Oye, and on that topic, have you had like issues or encounters with tokenism? And I'm because again, like toda mi vida, bueno, no toda mi vida adulta, mucho de mi vida adulta fue en México y llegué acá hace 10 años. No estaba muy familiarizada con todos estos conceptos. ¿Tuviste que pasar un proceso por ese lado?
Ya. No al principio, como no teníamos oportunidades. Es difícil ser choken cuando no hay algo para hacer. Pero ya como que he tenido más éxito. Sí he notado. Y ya uno sabe cuando te están invitando para darle un poco de color a algo.
Yeah.
Hay un par de pláticas a que me han invitado y son como 5 hombres blancos y yo. Y luego después alguien me dice, pues te invitamos para darle un poco de color. Hasta me dijeron.
No.
Y dijimos, sí, él es perfecto porque es latino y también puede hablar. Y yo, ¿y que los otros latinos no pueden hablar? ¿O qué? Sí, me quedé así como muy asombrado de... pero sí, así, algo obvio así. Tal vez hay otros ejemplos de cosas así, pero que no me he dado cuenta. Pero yeah, I mean, I just tend to like, if something doesn't feel right, I'm just like, I'll pass.
Yeah, because that's what, por ahí iba mi pregunta, de que qué haces, porque sí, yo de repente he estado en situaciones como que me incomodan, pero no sé qué hacer porque es un concepto tan raro para mí.
Yeah.
Luckily, like, no he sido en muchos casos porque creo que, sí, no sé, estoy bien ocupada, así es que trato de ser muy intencional con las cosas que acepto y con las que no. Pero al mismo tiempo, like, there have been times that I feel like weirded out y no, like, ¿qué hago? Igual, ¿qué hacen artistas jóvenes cuando se sienten en esas ocasiones? Pero pues sí, it might be that easy to say no.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, and there's an equation too, because sometimes you can know that they're going to be using you and your identity, but then it's like, but could I use them and this opportunity to do something so awesome that, like, it's much more of a benefit to me, so you have to find the right balance.
Sí, porque también por lo regular, no es cierto, no todo el tiempo, pero cuando estás joven, cuando estás creciendo, cuando acabas de llegar y dices, no me dan otras oportunidades y esta no se siente bien, pero pues no tengo de dónde escoger, like, ni modo, vamos a darle para adelante. Yeah. It sucks.
I know. But I mean, for years, like, the only opportunities I was really getting were at Mexic-Arte and the MAC, and it was just like, I remember actually when I curated the YLA, I got interviewed about it, and they're like, "Why, like, do you think we really need to have like these, all Latino exhibitions? Like, why is that a thing?" And I'm like, well, when we're not getting opportunities in other spaces, like, so the other option is to just not show our work or not to do things. And also it's just like, and I feel like it's a counterpoint to rhetoric and things that you hear, like even out of like politicians, like, the current residents of the White House saying these horrible things. Well, no, we're going to counter that by doing something badass over here and show you what we're made of. So sometimes if you feel like you can turn one of those tokenism opportunities into something positive, hey, I say go for it, but enter at your own risk, of course.
Good advice.
But if you can end up being the star of the whole thing, it's even better, right?
Sí, do it. See, it was not random, pero sí, me daba curiosidad eso, porque sí lo he escuchado y más a gente más joven. Y digo, qué difícil tener que escoger entre una oportunidad mala o no oportunidades, like, yeah, es un volado. But yeah, I guess, and at the same time, Latinos in general, I feel like pasamos por tantas cosas que más o menos estamos entrenados a batallar, one way or the other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But another part of that is we're also, it's in our blood to make something out of nothing. You know, to take the chatarra and make it into gold. It's like, that's what we do. You know, mexicanadas.
100%. Podemos hacer con tortilla y queso, podemos hacer enchiladas, chilaquiles, migas. Flautas, yep. Qué rico, ya me dio hambre. Anyway, cool. And so, can you tell me about your podcast?
Yeah. So it's called El Puente, and it's an intersectional conversation. It's me and my two best friends, who happen to both be Black, and so it's this great conversation about the connection, the bridges, the puentes between our communities. We talk. It's where feminism crosses Latinidad, crosses Black excellence, crosses queer discussions, and yeah, I'm very proud of it. Like it's a labor of love. It is so much more work than I ever anticipated. But it's just so great because like they're the two people, like they're my rocks. Like they're the people that I will ride and die for. And it's the same. It's a mutual feeling. We just like, it's our own little community right there. And it's a place for us to have discussions, especially political conversations, in a safe space, because and for me the longest time, like I've always had like we all live in politics, you know. Our bodies are political. And so getting to have those conversations, I was always afraid to do it publicly, just because of like, well, I don't know enough about the topic to sound articulate, and this was just our way of like, you know what, no, everybody can and should talk about what's going on in the world around them, you know, around Black Lives Matter, around, you know, women's choices and everything. And so this was our way of doing it in a safe space where we can, it's a friendly conversation because we all love each other and we're just friends, and we can do that without having to be, you know, a talking head commentator kind of background to do it. So yeah, hopefully it's empowering to other people.
Yeah, and without like, I'm gonna go after you because you said this thing. Like, yeah, I kept running through this topic where people experience and learn better whenever they feel like they're free and they're in a safe space. And it could be like laughing, it could be through memes, it could be through any way that doesn't feel like a lecture. It just feels like we're open and I can accept information, even if it's information that feels like it goes against what I believe in. But if we're in a safe space, if we're open, like it's easier that I get to access that.
Yeah, no, and it's a great space too, because like we have such three different perspectives, but there's still these commonalities, but we can speak to the, you know, things that you won't see on normal media or these types of conversations, or we can talk about, you know, fragile masculinity and or white fragility and things like that are our stories, but you know, you're not gonna see it generally on TV or.
Claro.
Yeah.
Es lo que nos está salvando, de que así como Twitter hace cosas espantosas en el mundo, hace cosas buenísimas al que sea una plataforma abierta, like, and how todos los podcasts que están pasando y que está viendo y todos los, sí, está formando y forzando a la gente a tener una opinión y a ser más mindful de qué es lo que estás diciendo y qué estás poniendo en el mundo, right? Anyway, I love thinking about the world. Oye, pero bueno, entonces platícame qué proyectos tienes ahora. Me dijiste que abren la semana que entra los Outsiders en Grey Dog, ¿y qué más?
Sí. A ver, déjame sacar la lista. Afortunadamente tenemos muchas cosas pendientes, pero no me acuerdo de todos los detalles, así que...
Awesome to hear. Estamos de moda y hay que aprovechar.
¿Verdad?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so currently I'm up in the 25th edition of YLA or ELA, that's called now, at Mexic-Arte. So that'll be up through November 22nd. I'm also part of the first show at a new space in Canopy. Yeah. The Ivester Contemporary.
El Ivester.
Ivester.
Yeah, it makes more sense that it's called Ivester.
I love that. It sounds like that'd be the name of like that little malcriado kid in class, right? Like that's the mom. Ivester. Baja el gato, me lo vas a pagar.
Yes, exactly. Sorry to cut it. I don't know.
So yeah, Ivester Contemporary. So I'm part of their group show, kind of their introduction to Austin. But then in November, I'm doing a solo show there, and I'm going to be showing a lot of the work that I'm working on in grad school at SAIC right now.
So exciting.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Let's see. Then Capirotada, the Los Outsiders show is opening at Grey Duck on the 2nd.
Okay.
Let's see what else. I also just got invited to do a new performance for this symposium that I'm really excited about. It's called Necropolitics, Necropolis Morning, and it's about, it's an academic symposium, but they want to punctuate it with different performances to kind of give it a well-rounded experience. So yeah, I'll be posting about that soon. But it's about it's going to be online, but my piece is going to be in response to the San Jose Cemetery here in Austin.
Okay.
It's a Latino, mostly Mexican cemetery and historical cemetery in Austin, and you know, there's like mass graves there. There's people who are victims of previous pandemics and things like that. And I was like, I have to do this project. Like it's like it just, the synergy of it just with everything in the world right now, and it just kind of fits what I normally do. So I'm working on that, and that'll be out soon. So yeah, it's about reclamation of healing in BIPOC communities. And then also in November, my El Puente crew and I were putting together our second edition of POCa Madre Magazine.
Cool.
So that's coming soon. Yeah, we got a few things coming up.
That's like for sure. Yeah. Oh my God, no, but it's so exciting to know that you're able to produce so much work y que aparte de todo lo que estás haciendo para tu otro trabajo en educación que estás pudiendo like do a ton of art. It's very exciting to know that we'll get to see a lot of your work out there.
Yeah, thank you.
No, but thank you, and thank you so much for taking your time of your very busy schedule to talk to me. Es un placer. Te digo, moría de ganas de hacer esto en vivo, pero we'll do it another time.
No entiendo, no, bueno. El honor es mío, así que gracias por invitarme, y gracias al MAC también, que es un espacio increíble también para la ciudad y nuestras comunidades.
Yeah, definitivamente.
Yeah, it was so good talking to you. Like,
same
yay.
here. Yeah,
another human face.
Yeah, I know.
And it's a good human.
Yeah, I'll drive up by your house and honk a few times.
There we go.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and yeah,
POCa.
we'll be looking forward to tomorrow's opening at Grey Dog, and then Ivester, and then your social media for the rest of the program.
Yes.
Well, good night, and thank you everyone for tuning in.
Bye.
Bye.
Hasta luego.